When I was a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter. Well, in some way, shape, or form, I'm here putting out fires. Let's get into it.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, your number one daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. I am your host, Robyn Leonio, alongside Matthew Jacobson. I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Got a good show on today's episode, Matthew, because we're going to vent for a little bit.
Do we?
Is this
going to be a good show?
I mean, it's going to be a show because we're going to vent a little bit because apparently a lot of people were might have been completely blinded by looking, or just were dumb enough to look at the sun and just made some and did not realize what they were posting yesterday on Twitter.
Can I just say something real quick, Robyn? Just real quick. Well, as of recording, but obviously yesterday when you guys are watching this, it's my birthday. I'm a year closer to 30. Trying to deal with my own mortality. Thank you. It was not. But I appreciate the well wishes, because after getting to just relax, because apparently there was no work today, and getting some achievements and some Sonic games, I had to deal with more misinfo, BS, stupidity, window licking, and fires that, like I mentioned earlier, apparently I wanted to be a firefighter growing up. I didn't realize talking about hockey was going to involve putting out fires. Like Craig Morgan talks about how he never thought he would be getting into politics. Apparently, I didn't know I was getting into like. Nah, I shouldn't talk about how stupid the people are and how I'm here driving the short bus. Robyn, you want to set up a little bit what we're talking about today, or do you want me to just start yelling? Because I'll yell. I don't mind.
We'll give some people context for those that might have been living under a rock, or like I said earlier, might have actually stared at the sun too long, but yesterday that they didn't actually get a chance to see where it went down. It's the first. Let's just get into this first bit. I think it's the one that we really need to unravel the most. There was a letter sent out yesterday, today when we were all recording this, but the Scottsdale Mayor decided to put out a letter voicing his quote, his opposition for the Phoenix Arena that is on the border, that is on like 101 in Scottsdale Road, which I feel like has blown a lot of things in different proportions that a lot of different reporters are taking way out of proportion.
It was brought to my attention because of a shots fired tweet. And I skimmed the letter, and in reality, I see Scottsdale Mayor, and my brain shuts off. I see Scottsdale Mayor complaining about infrastructure and how they're not going to pay for it, even though they're not. And even though most of this stuff, a lot of details are public information, it's all coming out of the Coyotes' dime. The water and whatnot is coming out of the North Phoenix side. It's one of those things. Very stupid people or naive people will listen to a complaint like, we don't have the water, and say, oh, that's a very reasonable concern, when it isn't in this specific context, because the water is not coming from Scottsdale. It's going to be coming from the Phoenix side. All of this undeveloped land, the Coyotes, it was a big sticking point, Robyn. We've had to talk about multiple times on this show, Robyn. They are putting in the infrastructure. And then he's sitting there talking about how he made this demand and that demand. And in the same article, Patrick Brown, the absolute beauty he is, pointed out how, yeah, in that same article, it even says that this stuff is already agreed upon. He literally came out to blow hot air and give me a headache on my birthday for no reason. because nothing is new here. He has no power here. It's like the people that think that the PA has any recourse to what's going on right now. They are literally powerless, which is why they're throwing fits, even though the PA head won't even meet with the Coyotes. There is nothing here, Robyn.
For those watching on YouTube, I put up that exact thing that Matthew's talking about, where even in the letter he's even talked about that, where it's coming from the Phoenix side. Talks about what his demands are in the meeting that he had with the Arizona State Land Department, and that it was agreed upon.
Robyn, how stupid do you have to be to put this statement out? Now, okay, you know what? Let me pretend to be reasonable for 5 seconds. For no one deserves this, but let me just pretend to be reasonable. Okay, it's an election year. You want to make sure that the citizens in Scottsdale that it's right next to know that you're not financially supporting it or whatever. Okay, sure, put out a little statement, a crybaby letter that offers literally nothing of value, and then you have Arizona Sports, which is owned by a Salt Lake-based company, by the way, running with this story, burying the lead, trying to run with the parts of this. Oh, he opposes this. He opposes them paying for any of it, which they were never going to. So the little 5 seconds I said I was going to be reasonable, yeah, that reasonability is gone because it's stupid. And all this was just a political whatever the hell, throwing it out there just for the sake of throwing it out there. And then I got to deal with idiots, morons, terrible reporters, awful journalists like John Gambadoro, who then takes this. I have his tweet up right here. Takes this article is now attempt to think what's going on through Bettman's mind. Do you think he wants this to play out any longer? You can kill two birds with one stone, move the team to Salt Lake, and then Alex, if or when he gets the arena built, can get a team. And if he doesn't, the expansion can go elsewhere. He continued a little bit, but honestly, I really don't want to pay him any more attention than that. The fact that anyone is running with the idea that he would sell this team optimistically $800 million, but I'll just say $1 billion. The new expansion fee is going to be 1.1, 1.2, whatever. Let's just say upwards of 1.5. What business person is going to sell this team, barely make any money on it, and then put all that money right back into wasting for a second franchise, on top of the damage it's going to do to the fan base that will not support a brand new team if we just got used to this core? I'm telling you right now, if it's within 5 years, this market will reject it and it will result in another relocation. I don't care. I might be stupid. My gut ain't. I can tell you right now, if this team relocates and this is the strategy they go, I won't cover them when they come back. I won't buy anything. NHL's dead to me if you pull that when we're so close to having an actual definitive answer. I think I might have lost my point that I was trying to set up earlier. I'm just mad. I'm just literally going down this list of thoughts of just stupidity, terrible logic. This makes perfect sense. Yeah, he's going to lose all this money. Yeah, sure. The only way it makes sense legitimately, and this is not going to happen, is if he sells them for $1 billion and the expansion fee is waived. And even then, what motivation does he have to actually build that arena, Robyn, if they take the team away from him anyway with a pinky promise you can have a new team back? He's going to make money on the land anyway. If you take the team away, the arena's not going up. I will put that on record. I guarantee, because what would be the logical purpose at that point of putting the arena up if your team is gone with a pinky promise of a new one?
Well, we'll answer that question right after we hear a quick word from our sponsors.
And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Let's keep going. Matt, I feel like you're on a roll here. They got it going through your rant.
I just want to yell. I just want to continuously yell. We'll take it one point at a time. Well, one point at a time here, so I can let you actually talk a little bit. What would be the motivation for Alex to still build the arena specifically if like it's a pinky promise you're going to get your team back? Because there is no way he's getting a sweetheart deal like the expansion fees waived. There's no way that's the scenario. That's just the only way it makes sense in my head.
I don't think there is much. Like maybe the only thing I can think of is like, okay, yeah, maybe even like he might get the promise of a new team. Might not happen for a while, but in the sense that, oh, maybe he'll get a concert venue there for a little bit, whatever it might be, or other kind of event venue. But that's kind of like that's thinking stretch wise. The arena itself, there'd be almost no motivation. Sure, he can maybe get the rest of his district up there, just get residents in some retail shops, just to kind of, help him build some of the money back that he spent on purchasing the land that he's going to purchase in just a few months' time.
It's brain dead. It is brain dead stupid if anyone genuinely believes that's how this is going to play out. Because there's no scenario where Alex Borello makes money here. The team is currently not losing money. The revenue is comparable / up, depending on what numbers you want to believe, from Glendale. They are objectively better right now in an arena that is a third the size of the arena they were playing in, somewhere around a third. I don't care about the exact math, but you want them to play in a max 14,000 seat 33-year-old arena with terrible sight lines. You're repeating the same thing as Footprint Center was America West back in the day, where they weren't profitable. And when's that new arena supposed to go up? Like 2030? How does this make sense in anyone's mind? Anyone that dares to call themselves a journalist or a reporter with any integrity, or even a human being with anything above a single-digit IQ, how does that make any logical sense when it's 3 years? Robyn, it's my birthday. You might be adding in some bleeps and editing out swear words. It's 3 gosh darn damn years. They signed and the NHL approved a 3 to 4 year lease, extending that by 1 gosh darn year is not going to throw the entire plan in such flux. And on top of that, I've brought up before, Ryan Smith wants his toys. Ryan Smith has been very aggressive here. We now, even though I don't really trust the thing Kevin Weeks says, other sources have also said it, that apparently the group led by Houston and the group led by or based out of Atlanta are both meeting with the NHL today. Oh, wow. It's almost like Ryan Smith wants his toys and has been aggressive this entire time about getting his expansion franchise. And there's 2 other markets that are making some moves. Wow. It's almost like whenever these other things that want expansion teams make moves, it doesn't mean anything about the Coyotes. Wild thought. Using your brain is hard, though. For these really stupid, idiotic, egotistical jackasses, it is just too difficult. It is too hard to actually think about what you say before you say it. And then someone like John Gambadoro, someone like an Arizona media personality, openly advocate, and then, I read so many of his replies and tweets and everything today. Oh, I'm not advocating. It's better for business, actually, if this is a 4-sport town. Actually, it has no effect because none of you people give the Coyotes proper coverage anyway. If you guys gave the Coyotes proper coverage, you wouldn't need idiots like me making a YouTube channel, or PHNX coming in and crushing it, or Locked On here to give you an actual focus. Because even if we posted 1 episode a week, we're doing more on average than 98.7 FM. I can tell you that right the hell now. So what do you mean it's better for you? It's not better for, it doesn't affect you because you don't talk about it unless you're running your mouth, or someone gives you the breaking story on like a contract extension 5 hours early. Like,
yeah. You're right, because if you think about it, you're making a really good point about it, because you think about it, a lot of these are like even locally, they're not even giving the hockey enough coverage. Like you'll see like where it says like, oh yeah, sports, and then like it'll have it will be like Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Suns, Sun Devils, and then like more, and then like the Mercury, the Rattlers, and the Coyotes are put under more. Like you put a team that plays in the Big Four under a more.
Don't even get me started. Someone that I had a lot of respect for, and a lot of Coyotes fans have a problem with him. I just never saw it before personally. Because at least Dan Bickley would talk Coyotes. Like Bickley and Murata would be the show that would actually talk Coyotes every now and again. And like, first off, his stupid little opinion piece is like, oh, well, the Coyotes immediately, even if they buy the land, there's a zoning issue. Like a day before that was posted, Craig Morgan, an actual goddamn journalist,
one of the longest running Coyotes journalists in the Valley,
the number one source for anything Coyotes. I will trust anything Craig Morgan tells me
100%
over anyone else, even if I have empirical data in front
that's
of me.
Us giving him, talking, so much praise about Craig Morgan, who's the host of the other daily podcast.
Yeah, we should hate him. I mean, I'm a little annoyed with PHNX because they put me out of business, but I'm playfully, but no, seriously. Like in that interview that an actual journalist put out with Javier Gutierrez, it literally said it's already zoned. I made the mistake of thinking that it wasn't zoned for everything. Like it was missing one. I think it was like hotels. Apparently, every single thing they want to do, it is zoned for, and they can just do it. Apparently, if I'm just going off Javier's words, he's actually in these negotiations. I'm not.
Because I think it was already zoned for theme park as we're talking about. It's just they were thinking about getting that taxing district.
Well, I know like commercial, technically, like it's for that certain type of commercial. You brought up high density when we were looking at the different land plots because it's already in that Desert Ridge area. So technically, like I don't know about the hotels. There's conflicting information on that, but I'm just gonna believe Javier because he's in those meetings and that's as primary of a source as you can get. The land is already ready to be worked on. Q2 2025. I misspoke in the last episode. I wanted to update that and admit, hey, I might have said the wrong thing the last time. Go ahead, Robyn.
No, you're right. But like, yeah, it's been zoned properly. So there's a lot of misinformation that was going out about it. And it just makes me so tired because that puts the Coyotes guys, myself, you, any of the other Coyotes reporters, beat reporters, PHNX, whoever it might be, essentially running on the defensive, trying to make sure that the correct information is put out.
Oh, you mean putting out fires? You mean what we have is literally a bunch of jackasses playing with a lighter, and then it's us who have to deal with it. And like I'm just gonna say this. I don't even know if I care to talk about hockey anymore. Like what's the point of getting excited when every single time there's positive, and we've seen it, especially since around the All-Star break, every single time you have a wave of just hit pieces, misinformation, half-truths at best. It's cleared up. We get a positive update. It's calm for a week. Another wave of it. We got literally in the same day of, oh, they're relocating. Now you have the auction date is set. And then like 4 days later, oh, hey, actually this, when even the thing they're talking about today didn't mean anything. It was literally just politics. It is just a mayor blowing out hot air. And if anything, considering how one of like his bigger districts is very hockey enjoying, let's say, because a lot of the money we've been talking about for a long time is in that Scottsdale area. And I guarantee it comes down to the same thing with Phoenix. Didn't want Tempe having an arena because it takes money away from Phoenix. I guarantee it being that close to Scottsdale, he just wants a piece of the pie without investing in any of it or offering a parcel over on that side.
Absolutely, because if you take a look at the mayors of the cities that the Coyotes have spoken to, they're like, absolutely, let's welcome. Let's go back to the TED. Corey Woods, he was very, very speaking positive about the Coyotes coming to Tempe when the Tempe Entertainment District is trying to become a thing. John Giles in Mesa has spoken positively about the possibility of the Coyotes looking into spots of land in Mesa. So says there's plenty of open spots. Kate Gallego has made in Phoenix, making some positive steps, saying, I think this could be a really good thing. But honestly, it almost seems in the sense that with that kind of letter that Mayor or is it, I think it's Ortega is just bitter that they weren't the spot because they literally went a loop or like around Phoenix, around Scottsdale. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, what?
You know what's funny, Robyn? Like, I know we have to get to break. I want one last comment before we go to break. It's also funny how the Scottsdale, the Scottsdale city council even said immediately following, like within 24, 48 hours of the no vote, was like, oh, we're not going to help the Coyotes like with purchases over here. I just find it really ironic that you go on record. I'm not saying it was the mayor specifically. I just know it was the city council when they were asked about it. Was like, yeah, we're not gonna help them. I find it really funny that right when it comes down to election time, you want to get your name out there when you're talking about the potential. Oh, it could take business away from this little part of Scottsdale. Okay, your city council could have got involved, and you guys could have had the Coyotes because all the players live out there. They would love if this was just straight up in Scottsdale. That's why the players love this location. Likely love this location because it's right next to their damn houses.
Okay. You're absolutely right. Well, we're gonna get some continued thoughts about this. Get some closing thoughts, other continued thoughts, whatever you might be looking for here, right here on this show of Locked On Coyotes. But first, a quick word of our sponsors on today's show. And today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. The NHL season is almost over. We're going to get into the playoff season. Stanley Cup playoffs are coming up. Regardless of where the Coyotes are, I know they're not going to make the playoffs. They're guaranteed. In fact, they might be in the Macklin Celebrity Sweepstakes for all we know. I want to remind you that you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is the #1 choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you got to do is pick whatever players you want to win to get that 100 times your money and do it alongside your friends and more sports, other vendors, the NHL. You can do the NBA and the MLB as well as they go through their seasons. The NBA coming towards the end, and the MLB just starting their seasons. Get talking to group and team chat functionality, connect with other fans. Entries can be made in under a minute. All you got to do is pick whether or not studs like, hey, Josh Stone and how well he's been doing, or let's say Dylan Guenther will record more or less than their sleeper projections and things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Coyotes fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. So stop paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper terms of use for details and locational availability. Let's close things off, or let's just kind of get some other thoughts here out of the way. You know, Matt, I said this before we went on the air, and I kind of want to give this person a lot of credit. You know, someone I did not expect to jump onto the Coyotes defensive is because like I've been following this dude for a while, and I almost seemed like he was kind of crashing the Coyotes for a while. But Nathan Graff on X, I should say, because formerly known as Twitter, has been really being part of the Coyotes defensive in the last 24 hours. The first thing he tweeted out yesterday was saying, does the Scottsdale mayor realize the arena wouldn't be in Scottsdale, or do we need to break him the news? And then he goes on and says later on that's like, hey, it's wild how many hockey fans believe that Arizona will never work as a hockey market. He talks about Vegas, saying that they are second in NHL capacity percentage. And so just give Arizona fans a good team to cheer for, and they will have a stable barn, and they will come in. And he talked about the 2012 playoff run. He talked about the 2012 playoff run. I saw how crazy the whiteout was there and how devoted those fans were. Like, and that wasn't in Glendale.
He even, I think the exact quote was like, one deep playoff run in 26 years, and the market went crazy for it, which they did. I was there for all 3 years of those playoffs. The fans showed up for the playoffs, and talking to people that were there in downtown earlier, same exact thing.
And I know that might look bad on Phoenix fans as a whole. I mean, like, it doesn't really, I think sure, it might offend some of you guys when I say it doesn't surprise me to say that, a lot of Phoenix fans here are very fair weather. They will only show up when the
It's
team
a
is
fickle
winning.
sports town. You got to win.
You have to
Unless you're the
win.
Cardinals, you have to win. And the Cardinals only because opposing teams fans will show up.
No, yeah, you have to win because you take a look. Let's just take a look at even like several years ago, right before the Phoenix Suns were even any good. Were they like remember how like what cheap tickets would get and how easy it is? Same thing for the Diamondbacks. Just only on 2 years ago, they were so bad you can get tickets for $7. Like
It's one of the things I've talked about before. I love it. I love it about the market because they'll put pressure on owners to actually put forth the money. I also don't like it about the market because obviously it comes really hard to
yeah,
keep momentum
you're
for.
right. No,
But
you're right.
it is what it is. It's just a transient market that's characteristic. But I just want to comment real quick on Grav. He's a good kid. We were all buddies back in the day, and for hockey YouTube, we lost contact after a while. But he's a good kid. I do
Mhm.
feel like he does get a little too anti-Coyote. I do remember he was one of the ones that was talking about Donor being a nepotism pick, and they could have got him lower on in the draft. However, just because he's made some dumb Coyote statements doesn't mean he's not making some good ones now. So I do want to join in with you, give him some praise there. A lot better than people like the hockey guy who can't even effing read the article that he's citing, talking about, oh yeah, the water. Dog, it's already coming from the Phoenix side, and that's already agreed upon. The infrastructure is already agreed upon and paid by the Coyotes, and it's all public. How about you actually do some damn research anyway? Sorry. I didn't even watch Brody's video. At this point, I refuse if it comes to a Coyotes video. I didn't even want to watch it anymore. Like it's refreshing and also disheartening that it takes a damn YouTuber, some like 20-year-old kid, to do better work than grown adults and people that consider themselves journalists. It's super disheartening. This entire situation is just pissing me off. I can feel the love of hockey that's being drained from me because every single time we get a slight day of reprieve, anything positive, it feels like there's an army of people that just want to take that away. And if it's just a bunch of nobody losers on Twitter, I can trash talk them until I just walk away from the conversation. When it's journalists, when it's respected people in the industry, when it's my own goddamn local media, people that have a platform I wish I had to get to talk about this team and get the correct, not just positive, the correct information out there. I would literally kill to have that platform. Seeing them squander it and like the Gambo thing also annoys me more because he's been so vague about what the context is behind what he's reporting. So it's like what I was talking to someone earlier today, and I just want to relay what my side of this conversation was. I think we're all playing telephone. I think there are bits and pieces of accurate information, like we talked about in the last episode, where Morello's looking for a buyer. It would kind of make a lot of sense if it's on
As a
him to have a
backup
backup
plan,
plan and a contingency. That would make so much sense. So it's like I think we're getting tiny bits of accurate information from Morello having
but
those
it's being
conversations.
misconstrued.
Yeah, stuff like that. Just tiny little bits, but with either zero context, the incorrect context, people pushing agendas, and it's one of the smartest things Craig Morgan's ever said. And he says a lot of smart stuff. I think he said it on his show. It might have been on Twitter. It was one of the two. And he was like, sources have agendas. And it's like that's one thing that's been just ringing in my mind, living rent free, is you guys know my agenda. I want the team here. You guys know Robyn's agenda. She wants a team here. We kind of like getting paid to talk about hockey. We kind of
Yeah.
like having a hockey team to talk about, right? So it's like I have to also question, like, even when I'm talking to people, and there's plenty of times where I could come out here and give a report like, oh yeah, the Coyotes are selling this thing off, and they're probably it looks like they're getting ready to move, or they could just be upgrading or moving equipment or downsizing or whatever other million things, or the information you're telling me could be completely inaccurate because you want me to give out bad information, or you have a personal bone to pick with the team, or this person that works for the team, or just don't like hockey or whatever. Like when you're talking to people, you have to be very cognizant of the fact that everyone has an agenda. And if you don't know what it is, that does not mean do not listen to them. Listen to the things that are being told, but also try to use your damn brain and try to figure out how much of it is accurate, how much of it is just pure
Mhm.
agenda or spin. Like
And I think you're making some really good points about all that. And I think a huge example about that is, and again, I'm going to point to a back and forth little match that we saw on Twitter between Steve Peters, and Frank Saravalli.
I love
Like
Stevie so much. Love him.
Guys, it was a fantastic back and forth battle. One of the most enjoyable things I ever got a chance to read yesterday. I'd want to see more.
Look, whenever Petey, like, and he's still too nice. Even after the gloves came off, he kind of put them back on. Petey, we love you. I know it's not in you to be. I know you ain't got that dog in you in terms of aggression. I know you ain't got that in you. You're too lovely of a dude. All right, but like you were dropping some truth bombs there, and the fact that a journalist needed to rely upon the lol you misspelled something argument tells me everything I need to know about the validity of what you were saying. You did some great work today, PD. Keep it up.
Freaking a reporter going after a former video coach for the Arizona Coyotes. It's
look, that reporter is so like, okay, all right. Last thing I'll say, I know we're running low on time. I really don't care, Sean. I got a couple more things to say. It's okay. So the fact, to me, in my opinion, in my basic observations of what's going on, how personally Frank Spaghetti has taken all of these L's, how every single time there is a slightly ability to slightly slant something, he tries to slant it. This Mesa Mayor thing, or sorry, Scottsdale Mayor thing is the prime example of that. On top of him responding and getting butthurt to fans a couple months ago, on top of him getting absolutely destroyed by Craig Morgan, just pointing out how the Arizona politics doesn't necessarily go by the rules all of the time. It was a small little factoid, and that absolutely just started an avalanche of him responding to Nordique's hater of all people. That is a lovely parody account. The fact that you got that butthurt, the fact that there's been so much consistent trying to pile on negative reporting, the fact there's been consistent inaccurate reporting, like they don't have the okay to offer contracts. I'll just tell you something I heard. Take this with a grain of salt. I was told that Dursey and Moser both have extension offers out there, but neither of them will sign it if it means the team is relocating to Utah. I won't tell you who told me that. Take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a giant handful of salt. All right.
And you're right. And that makes sense, especially where, you know, what Arizona means to a lot of these players.
Mm-hmm.
Like
most of the guys love it here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm gonna go back to an article from PHNX from like a month or two ago when they interviewed Christian Fisher and they talked to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I've got a home still in Arizona, and that's where I plan to live the rest of my life when I'm done playing hockey." That just shows you the importance of this team in Arizona, and people just don't realize that kind of crap.
They don't. It's because they don't care. Robyn, it is straight up because they don't care. Whenever I read these threads, and it's the worst part of my job. Literally, part of the reason I'm cutting down is one of my jobs, getting rid of one of my jobs, partially because of school, partially because I cannot turn my brain off from this job and having to be as connected and reading everything and trying to be informed and whatnot. Like, the vast majority of what I see is just people saying, oh yeah, it makes perfect logical sense for Morello to sell the team and then take a massive loss in an expansion. That makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense that he would still build the arena if the team was taken away and a forced sale, you know, because they're trying to avoid a lawsuit, which they could be trying to avoid a lawsuit. There could be a backhand deal. We have no idea. However, when you say that makes more logical sense than just playing in a damn college arena for 3 more years and getting it over with, like, it's just straight up, people are mask off, telling you exactly what they want, exactly what their bias is, and then they're either too cocky, too arrogant, or too stupid to just admit it.
Yeah. Plus, and I know we're running way over time now at this point, but we have to say it. And the only reason why people were so upset by Mullet Arena is because it's Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, baseball fans, I saw more reactions, just to also briefly follow up when we talked about last episode. At least a lot of baseball fans are just as crybaby as NHL fans when it comes to a smaller venue. However, when we point out that, like,
You're mad about that one because that's the Athletics. They
like,
run through the same shit.
We'll point out how Delta Center is not actually equipped as an NHL building because it simply has more seats. That's where they need to go. Literally, this has more seats. Literally, Winnipeg, they sold out for 11 years straight. They have always required the NHL. Gary Bettman said it himself. I watched the press conference. They have always been taking revenue sharing. No one talks about how the Jets, how they can't survive without revenue sharing. All right. No one talks about that. We had a little bit of fun at the idea they could relocate just to mess with Jets fans because it's funny. It's funny. It's the bias is there. You know my bias. I'm upfront about my bias, and I still will criticize Murillo. We'll talk about how the team played poorly. We'll talk about how this is their last chance because if they lose the auction and there is no other viable option to get the team sold, and I think it's Matt Ishbia or nothing, the team is gone. I'll even say that. You know what my bias is. These morons won't. And if you keep falling for it, you can't be helped. Don't drive. Don't operate a motor vehicle. Don't vote. Don't reproduce. Don't even adopt an elder cat that is terminal with cancer with a week to live, because I feel like that cat will no longer be alive in 6 hours if you manage to even get that cat home with how dysfunctional your brain is. Robyn, take this away from me before I get fired.
All right, this is going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. As a reminder, if we get to a 500 subscribers on YouTube, Matthew has a diss track for a certain
Wait,
NHL
what was the buy date? We gotta have the buy date on there.
Yes, exactly. Buy the auction. Buy the auction.
Oh God.
Matthew will drop the diss track on this show in its entirety.
You're getting 40 seconds out of me. You're getting more than my wife. You're getting something out of me.
Anyways, don't forget to follow us and interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on X at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. Matthew Jacobson is at CoyoteMatt265. Interact with us, ask the question you might have. We might answer right back or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.